What was the biggest difference that you had to get used to dating someone outside of your race? And just so you guys have a reference, so I grew up in the States. I am Mexican American, but I grew up in a very, very traditional cultural Mexican household where, they wanted to follow everything that they were instilled by my abuelitos or their parents.
Well, I've always had a big family growing up, oldest out of 5 kids, and also I've had experience dating other people with big families, so I'm so used to being around a big family. I guess a lot of that stuff is just normal, or the fact that I can adapt to any situation.
Welcome back, you guys, and if you guys are new here, my name is Jasmine.
My name is Matthew Cohn.
And this is the 1% Better Everyday podcast, where we share our wins, we learn, we connect as entrepreneurs doing life together. So today I actually wanted to do a special episode on interracial relationships, because I don't think that we have ever really talked about this topic in our 4 years of dating now. And I think that there was a lot of just experiences or just different things that we had to learn along the way. And I think it would be cool to talk about it for other people, because I didn't really think that it was ever a thing for me, but you can talk about your experience and my experience. So I was listening to a podcast, and one of the girls that was doing the podcast, she had questions come in. And one of the questions was, how did you handle your interrelationship with such a traditional family? And I know for me, this is something that I discussed with him, with having a Mexican traditional family, it was always marry inside your race, or, marry someone from the States, just because it was considered that, they were wealthy or they had privilege or whatever the case was. Again, I never really grew up thinking like that, because I always grew up with the mom that said, you're going to love whoever you're going to love. And she didn't really, ever make it a thing of you have to marry inside the race. But I guess for you, what was your experience or background on that? Are you a service-based entrepreneur that provides some kind of service, but you don't know how to create content in order to convert someone from following you into a paying client? I'm going to tell you exactly what to post in order to start generating more leads, attract high-paying clients, and get more DMs than you can possibly answer. I will help you how to find your niche, how to find your target audience, and craft offers that will attract top buyers every time you go to make a post. Text me content to 513-516-7332 to learn more on how you can get mentored by me for only $99 a month.
I'll take a look at it from my parents' side. There was no vision. There was nothing really talked about. I kind of just take it as face value, you just love whoever you love. And then coming from your side, they've always shown love for me, so I don't really have an opinion on it, because it never really affected me, I guess.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to speak about it, because even though it doesn't affect us, it does affect other people. So we just want to talk about our experience and how we handled it. Just so you guys have a background, Matt wasn't the first, African American guy I dated. I've dated white, black, Hispanic, but again, with my family really never made it a challenge that I had to marry or date inside the race. But I know one of the girls' question that she talked about on the podcast is, how do you tell your family when you have a traditional family? And I guess for me, it was kind of more just being open with my parents and just telling them who I was dating when I thought the time was right. And again, my family was never really, challenging around that. When they met Matt, they accepted him full on, and they made him part of the family, and now we have a group message with them. But
that's not everybody's experience as well. I've known people that have interrelationships or interracial relationships, and they've come into the family, and that family may or may not like that person. So everybody's experience is different.
Yeah, but I would say just having open communication, especially if you're younger, or if you're still in high school or you're under 18, just having that open communication with your parents, because I think that if you try to hide things from them, it's only going to make it worse. I know I never thought I did, but I guess even looking back, my mom would always tell me I thought you were hiding things from me just because you weren't telling me. But again, it was just because we were never really raised to talk about our feelings or just talk about our emotions stuff like that. So I guess for me, again, it was just a learning process with that. But another question that I saw was, what was the biggest difference that you had to get used to dating someone outside of your race?
Um,
And just so you guys have a reference, so I grew up in the States. I am Mexican American, but I grew up like in a very, very traditional cultural like Mexican household where, they wanted to follow everything that they were instilled by my abuelitos or their parents. So,
well, I've always had a big family growing up, oldest out of 5 kids, and also I've had experience dating other people with big families. So I'm so used to being around a big family. I guess a lot of that stuff is just normal, or the fact that I'm like, I can adapt to any situation.
yeah. And for me, like my dad is from Guadalajara, Jalisco, and my mom is from Marabatío, Michoacan. And so coming from like those parts and just like a Hispanic traditional Mexican family, like we're really, really big on family. Like we put family first above everything. And so, I guess you were kind of already used to it, but I think you saw that when you first met my family. Like I have a really, really big family, especially like on my mom's side and my dad's side. And we have family like
You actually really don't.
well, you haven't met them all.
Like,
You haven't met
I feel
them
like
all.
I've met a lot of your family, and I feel like, and I think it's just me growing up with a big family. Like, I've always had a big family. Like, like even because I grew up in a church, so a lot of people that wasn't really blood members, like, was family. Like, we used to go over church members' houses. Like, we did all that. So I'm like, I guess I'm like really used to it.
Yeah. So you don't think my family's big?
No.
Really?
I honestly think you have an average sized family.
Really?
Yeah.
Even with all the people you met in Mexico?
Yeah, for sure.
That was only my mom's side though. You still haven't met my dad's side.
Yeah, that is true. I haven't. Like
Yeah.
literally nobody. I don't think I've met anybody from your dad's side. Have
Yes. No, not really.
I?
No.
That's crazy.
Not really. Yeah, so when we went to Marabatío back in December, we went back to celebrate my cousin's quinceañera. And so you guys know how quinceañeras are in Mexico, like invitan todos casi del pueblo, a todos sus amigos, su familia, todos los primos. Y todos los primos fueron, and so it was like 100 people. It was a little bit over.
It was a lot of people.
It was a lot of people.
It was a lot of people,
I
yeah.
thought it was like a little bit over 100.
Because your aunt's house is so big, it was able to fit so many people in that area, the outside area. Plus we had people outside, inside the house. Like,
yeah, so if you guys have been to Mexico and if you guys have been to Marabatío, you guys know what the houses are like, pero tienen la casa y luego tienen el patio y a veces tienen como el patio arriba. So there were literally people everywhere, and we had like about 100 people or more. And then like la banda vino en la noche, and there was just a lot of people. And so anyways, that was my mom's side, but he still hasn't met my dad's side, so I just think it's interesting that like you're already used to it, because that's something I've always been told is you have such a big family. Or
yeah, no, not really.
Yeah.
And that's just because, again, like me growing up, I've always been around a bunch of family members, like, because all my family from Georgia. So like family reunions and just how many people actually stayed in the neighborhoods that we was able to go to different people's houses. Mm-hmm. That's why I consider your family not big, because I was used to going to like 5 different uncles' houses or 5 different grandma's houses. Like,
Yeah.
That's how it is in your family. You got a bunch of uncles and you got a bunch of aunts,
Yeah.
and all of them got a bunch of kids. So
Yeah, like even cuando estábamos en Mexico, my mom would be like, "Oh, esa es tu tía, esa es tu prima," and I'm like, "Oh, I haven't seen them in literally years since I went to Mexico, because that was the first time I had been in almost 14 years to Mexico." So my mom
that was
just,
crazy.
Yeah.
Like every time you say that, I'm like, you really went almost 15 years
not going to Mexico.
not going to Mexico. That's crazy. Like you really like think about that. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, pero bueno, todos los que me conocen, like ustedes saben que y en la casa siempre hablábamos español, como mi papá siempre nos decía que no habláramos inglés en la casa. So even till this day, like that's something that I really, really appreciate that my parents just instilled in me, because now, I get to carry 2 languages. But going back to the languages, do you think has it been hard learning Spanish, or?
No, I think it's something if you put your mind to and you use it every day, then you'll actually understand it. If you're not using it every day, you'll lose it. Unless you got like a really good memory like me, then you'll lose it easily.
Yeah, like my whole family speaks Spanish. Mi mamá casi habla español todo el tiempo en la casa, mi papá igual. And so my mom just started like learning a little bit more English. I want to say like in the last 5 years, like fluently. So she's even been talking to
That's
us in English
crazy.
now.
Yeah.
But I keep telling her, I'm like, stop talking to Matt in English because he needs to learn. But along that, like, okay, what was like the biggest differences when it came to food? Because I know you said that like you were already eating some of the stuff I was eating, but I feel like I did introduce a lot of variety to you when it comes to food.
Yeah, the biggest difference is like mole, a lot of soups, and just being able to be. We went down to Mexico, seeing your aunt like make fresh tortillas. Like that was cool seeing. But it's not like I've never seen something being made fresh before. It just wasn't tortillas.
Yeah.
Like tortas, different types of juices. Like that's probably the biggest thing is the juices. And ice cream, big difference in ice cream. That's like a whole culture.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing something that like really stuck out to me.
Meats, maybe?
No, because I had two really good friends growing up in high school. One was Dominican and one was Mexican. I was over Luciano's house all the time with their family. So like a lot of this stuff I was already used to because of how many Hispanic friends I had growing up. Like Ernesto, Luciano, and then I was over at Angela's mom's house. They made me Dominican food all the time. So
Wow.
I'm just like used to it. But
Yeah.
that's not everybody's experience. Like not everybody gonna come in. People gonna come in and be shocked by like maybe the spices or something like that. But if you're not used to it, you're just not used to it.
Yeah. That is one of my favorite things about like just our relationship and us and dating is that he loves Hispanic food and he loves like Latin American food. So we can try so many new food together. Like when we went to Florida, we tried.
Empanadas. Yeah.
We tried comida de Argentina,
Oh
comida
my
de
God.
Honduras, comida de Dominican Republic, comida de Puerto Rico, and it was so freaking good. But I think
Yeah.
Dominican Republic was my favorite food.
Yeah.
Just because of the plátanos, like the plátanos are different, and I don't know what the dish is called, but when we ordered it, it was so freaking good. I don't know. Oh, and Cuban food. Cuban food is really good too.
Again, being in Miami,
Yeah.
the fresh juice, like that's
Yeah.
like the biggest difference. Like, especially getting introduced to Jamaica or Chata,
Yeah.
drinking fresh pineapple juice by itself. Like, a lot of the Mexican restaurants I've been to, like super heavy base, like fresh fruit smoothie
Yeah.
juices.
I told him like if we could move to Miami for like at least 3 months, 6 months, I would love it just because there's just so much food that we don't have here.
Oh, we got to plan out
Like-
our Miami trip for December.
Yeah, in Arizona there is a lot of Mexican food, but that is one like difference you guys are going to notice, especially with like Latin American countries and just Hispanic. I guess you would say states or origins, is that all of our food is different but similar, and you can't always find the same thing like in the same place. For example, like in Arizona, we have so many Mexican roots here. There's a lot of Mexican food, but even then, like it's not always the most, I would say, like straight Mexican. And you guys know what I mean when I say that. But it's really, really good still. But again, that's just what I love about Florida is like there's so many different variety of foods and cultures down there. Like you can learn so much and you can just see that. But
Yeah. Speaking of going to different places, talk about Little Mexico when we went to Chicago.
oh yeah, and then well, I don't know if it's
That was probably like, oh shit, my girlfriend's Mexican moment.
oh really?
Yeah, that was the oh shit moment for me. It wasn't meeting your
Really?
family. It was probably going there.
Really?
Yeah, because because most people haven't never seen that before. Ain't never
Well,
experienced
going back
something like
to my parents' house, like one thing I used to always get told growing up, like by anybody that came over, is our house was so different. Was that like a shock or
No.
no? Because you had already seen other people's
that. I've
houses.
seen other people, specifically other Spanish-speaking families. That
Yeah.
was very, very specific because their houses was always bright, colorful, had things from different countries in it within. Even I grew up with some African families too. Like when you the big difference with Mexican and like African and Black American is like, it's culture. It's what specific things are you gonna find in your house, like especially during holiday season. Like you guys, of course, you have a Catholic family, so you're gonna see a lot of like all like the main Catholic holidays, especially like Christmas. Christmas is a big thing for you guys, but for an American family, a Black American family, it's gonna be Halloween, it's gonna be Easter, it's gonna be Christmas, it's gonna be Valentine's Day, like that shit like that. But African culture is completely different. Like you're gonna see a lot of different shit in their house, and I was able to grow up with a lot of different cultures.
Yeah. And that's like one thing, even when I was younger, like I always loved learning about just like different cultures and different people. So I just love that we love learning about that together. But yeah, going back to Chicago. So if you guys didn't know, there's this little part in Chicago, I forget what it's called, because I don't want to get it wrong exactly, but I'll put it in here somewhere.
Wasn't it nicknamed Little Mexico?
And I'm not 99, I'm not 100% sure, but it's como un pueblito, and in the pueblito in Chicago, it's a small city, and like it has everything Hispanic, everything, I want to say Mexican, because most of the stores are Mexican founded. But it is just like a whole little area of Mexican stores, restaurants, plaza.
The gas station was ran by a Mexican owner, was Mexican. The police officers was Mexican. The store attendees was Mexican. And then that was my first time actually seeing, I don't know if you consider that a Mexican market, but when you go into the mall and you see all the shops and stuff like that, that was probably like my first time seeing some shit like that. That was like, oh shit, like damn.
Yeah, and it makes sense, you know, because there is a lot of Chicanos there, so there's just a lot of Chicano and Mexican culture there, and we actually my dad has family there, so that's how we would even go to Chicago. Like we only went a couple times, I want to say like 4 to 6 times when you were growing up. But the last time we got to see them, we went to Chicago, and I think I had told you about it that we had literally just gone in 2018, and it was cool, but. Again, you're not going to be able to find that everywhere. Like that was just in Chicago. Like in Cincinnati, we had a good portion of Hispanics, but it wasn't like
not like what I seen.
Not like Chicago, and I don't want to just blame it on the community or the culture not being there. There is. It's just not as much as you see in Chicago.
Together, yeah. It was more about them being together. Like in Ohio, it's mass spread out, and it could be a spot in Ohio that we just simply don't know about. But in Chicago, it was just so cool to see the
like everything all together, yeah.
But then when we moved to Arizona, it was even like it went from like this to like my awareness went from like this, and then when we moved to Arizona, it got like this.
Yeah.
And
then you went to Mexico.
Well, because we were so close to Mexico.
Yeah.
Like it was like boom.
Well, we went to where my mom's from first. Or did you go to Mexico first?
I'm talking about just seeing in Arizona first.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, in Cincinnati, that was that. And then when we moved to Arizona, I realized how many Latinos and Hispanics there are in Arizona. And in Arizona, like, does have, I want to say, like a variety in culture, because I have met people that are from Puerto Rico, people that are from Honduras, people that are from Dominican Republic, people that are from, there's another one that I keep coming across.
It was like 2 people I met that was actually from Spain.
Yeah, there are a couple people from Spain, but there's just so many different people and just, you know, just different cultures here too. So I love that about us, because I think it's also because we live next to Cali, and so many people from Cali are moving to Arizona. But
there's a big Jamaican culture here too.
Oh, there is.
It's a really big Jamaican culture here.
I love that, because then you just get to try new foods, you get to learn from different people, and I think it adds to your knowledge.
This is your first year trying bean pies.
Experiences, yeah. And it was so freaking good.
Last year,
it was so good.
Yeah, we gotta go.
I feel like we just tried something new recently. We tried octopus this year, or was it squid?
I don't remember trying that.
You tried it.
I tried it.
It was crunchy.
Oh, it was
crunchy?
crunchy? Oh, because they fried it. It was probably
It was octopus or squid?
Was it from
It was one of the two. No, it was when we went on that dinner.
What, Bryson's?
Yeah.
Bryson and Maria?
Yeah.
I don't know, but that was...
It was really good. Yeah. Like, you could barely taste that. I think it was squid. I think you could barely taste that it was squid.
We're going way off topic, but...
Anyways, back to the topic. This is how we get distracted. But yeah, and so we went to
Mexico.
Chicago, Arizona, and then you already saw the Hispanic culture in Miami. And then I guess like when you went to Mexico,
That's crazy. I seen big Hispanic influences in 3 different cities before I went to Mexico.
yeah, which is very cool. And then you went to Marabatío, which is where my mom is from.
Yeah, then I was like,
Marabatío, Michoacán. What did you think of it? Like, what was the biggest difference from there to the States?
Everything.
Because, sorry to cut you off. So when I was younger, like we would always go back to my dad's town, but I'll explain the difference between my dad's town and my mom's town. My mom's town is more of a little like pueblito. I don't know how to explain it, but it's basically, es un pueblito como más.
It's more of a town in a city.
Yeah.
Like a smaller. The difference is the agriculture, the economics, the operations of the small city or town or whatever, and then it's the touristy versus not touristy side as well, because there's no tourists coming to your mom's city unless it's family there.
Yeah.
So, and that was a big difference in between the couple of cities that we've been to, because we've been to Michoacan, then we've been to San Carlos, and then we went to Rocky Point, and that's all 3 different spots in Mexico. So.
Y la gente de Marabatío es muy humilde, es lo que le trato de explicar, que es que, por ejemplo, mi abuelita, ella no creció sabiendo cómo leer. Y es lo que le digo, que mi familia creció como muy humilde porque tenía que encontrar una manera de salir adelante en la vida. And so my abuelita would always make my mom's clothes. Like I always talk about this. Like my mom did not grow up, with my abuelita going shopping for her. Like my abuelita made all of her clothes, and even then, all the clothes that my abuelita had to make, like they would recycle through them, and they would literally just use them between my mom and her sisters. So it was just like a different way my mom grew up, and how she had to walk everywhere, how she had to walk to get clean water, and then my mom coming to the States and just raising us. Like it's a big difference how we grew up versus how my mom grew up versus how my abuelita grew up. So every time we go back to Marabatío, I just think about how my grandma had to go through so much just for me to be able to like live the life that I'm living. So anyways, that's what I mean by like la gente es muy humilde allí, es muy generosa, y toda la gente es súper humilde. And they just have a different lifestyle. Like they are so used to not depending on, technology for everything. Like that's what I told him, is that even my grandma, she just started using like a washer and dryer like maybe 10 years ago when my mom went back to Mexico and like bought her the dish, what is it called? The dish washer? Or no, the laundry. What is it called? The laundry washer?
The washer or dryer?
Washer. But my abuelita just started using a washer like a couple years ago. So anyways, like, some people just are living so different in Marabatío. Part of it is because of lack of, means, and, just the opportunities obviously are so much better here. And that's why people come here and send money back there. But it's just a huge difference. So for me to explain it to him, like I could never really explain him the difference. Like I always told him, like, you just have to go back there and see for yourself. So
yeah, that's our next big Mexico trip is going to be where your dad is from. That's going to be the next one.
Yeah. Matt, I need your help growing my social media audience.
All right, guys, if you need help growing your social media audience, make sure you text 602-390-7002. Once again, it's 602-390-7002.
So then my dad is from Jalisco, Guadalajara, which I want to say it's a little bit more wealthy part in Mexico, especially where my dad's background and just knowing our history. My dad did not grow up like my mom. And when I say what I mean by that is my mom obviously grew up in a little bit more financial crisis where, they couldn't afford food at times. And then my dad grew up in an environment where, they had property for inheritance. So it was like such a different background. And one of the things that I do appreciate about, this is so off topic, but one of the things I do appreciate about my dad instilling in us is always like telling us like, whatever you believe is possible is possible. And even if, he might have his fair share of limiting beliefs, that is one thing that I do appreciate about how like differently we grew up is my mom would always tell us like, you know, don't spend it all, save it all on a rainy day, or just, you know, don't forget where you came from. And then my dad would always tell us, well, like, you know, we were born in abundance. Like, you deserve it. Like, you work hard for this. Like, you deserve to spoil yourself. But anyways, it just goes like to show the difference between the two backgrounds and where my dad is from. You know, there are more opportunities and people are a little bit wealthier, but so I can't wait for you to see it so that way you can even see like difference in architecture, the difference in, you know, the pueblitos, because there is a difference just because of the economic situation in both the cities.
Yeah, we need to plan that out.
But
You want to wrap it up?
yeah, we need to wrap it up. But anything else you want to add? Like, what was the biggest differences when you started dating me with our cultures, or was there anything?
No, not really nothing.
Really?
No.
Besides Spanish, he has to learn.
Yeah.
He knows how to understand most of it. Now he just needs to like learn. He needs to practice how to
Just do
speak it more.
Let's just do
Yeah.
it. Just simply doing it. That's it.
But anyways, you guys, we went off on a tangent here, but I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, we just wanted to talk about our, you know, background and how we experienced through certain things and just our journey together. If you guys have any questions, let us know down below in the comments. Drop your questions, your comments. Don't forget to follow us, like this episode, share with a friend. You guys can listen to us on Anchor, and you guys can watch us on YouTube at 1% Better Everyday Podcast. Again, my name is Jasmine.
My name is Matthew Cohn.
And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye, you guys.